Okay. Okay, I think I'm not sharing my screen yet, so let me do that first. Okay, let's do the entire screen. And Mary, please feel free to let me know if there is any problem in communication, or yeah, there is any objection or from any of the participants
Sure.
in understanding the things or seeing my right. So we already talked a bit about the domains, and I believe most of you be aware, but just for those who are not very familiar, because this is something I hear quite often, because people are familiar with applications, modules, but then they are not familiar with domains, because it's actually one of the business concepts. uh, but OutSystems also allow us to categorize our applications, or club our applications into domains. Domains are usually the areas, at a very high level in terms of business, they are areas which serve particular area of the business, related to particular functioning, or maybe a process, which is very specific to. So the applications which are specific to that business area fall into that domain. So that's how we divide our applications among domains. So if you look at, like, let's say I have 100 applications in my environment, and I have just 5 domains. So it might happen that 25 might go to one domain, 10 domain, and then so on. So that's how the applications are classified. And then besides domains, domains further are classified into vertical domains and horizontal domains. So vertical domains are like, again, applications, right? So certain applications are very specific to which are supporting very specific functionality, right? But then there are certain applications which are actually used across multiple applications. So they have dependencies from multiple, one or more applications on them, to make certain features work properly. So similarly in domains as well, so we have vertical domains and then we have horizontal domains. So vertical domains are a set of applications which serve a specific area of business, or a business domain. And then the horizontal domain applications are those which serve multiple vertical domains, one or more vertical domains. So that's how domains are classified into vertical and horizontal domains. And so that was a background to before we further the vertical domains and the scenario. So uh, our system suggests to migrate the vertical domains to an ODC app is both represent a business domain and have loosely coupled properties with the same type of possible dependencies. So vertical domains usually, so let's say, and it says migrate vertical domains to an ODC app. So it could be multiple apps as well. But then in crux, what it is trying to say is that the vertical domains which are serving very specific area of business, they can simply be mapped to an app into ODC. So that's the idea. So if there is an application which belongs to a vertical domain, it is kind of independent, it is serving on its own the specific business domain, so it can simply be translated into an application on ODC. Then comes vertical domains with certain foundations as well. But those foundational apps, what here what's happening, that vertical domain, it has certain foundational apps in which those foundational apps are serving only this domain, only this vertical. So what in that scenario, the app could be translated simply into app, and then the foundation apps can be translated into apps or libraries. So here our system suggests to the consumer app, or maybe the business specific application to be translated, or the vertical domain application to be translated into an ODC application, and then the foundational apps be translated into libraries. These are again guidelines. Yeah, you might have scenario where you say, okay, no, okay, I do have a foundational app, but I want to keep it as an app only. Yeah, so it depends based on the situation. So these are just the guidelines, but it might vary based on the situations. Yeah. Then we have the horizontal domains, like I explained. Horizontal domains is a domain which serves one or more vertical domains. Yeah. Now, the horizontal domain might contain some business logic, or it might not contain a business logic, right? So here we are talking about horizontal domains which are sharing the business logic with the other vertical domains, yeah, or to other applications contained in those vertical domains. So in that scenario, the horizontal domain, because it is containing the business logic, it it uh, it gets mapped to an application in ODC framework. So business logic is also one of the criteria which tells us what to map into what, like from O11 to ODC. Most of the times, yeah, again I'm saying most of the times, it cannot be written on rock, like something which is business specific can only be transformed into an application, and not a library. So it's again subjective. So there might be situations where you want to transform a business logic application into a library as well. Yeah. So but here, I mean, on a happy transition journey, the guideline is that, okay, usually the horizontal domain containing business logic should be transformed into an application in ODC framework. And then we have certain horizontal domains which are which have the foundation apps. So I can have a domain, and I can have just one app there, which is the main application, and then that application is consuming services from further other applications. Yeah, so those are then called the foundation applications. So in that scenario, again, we can translate that entire thing into a library. Yeah. And so again, this, I mean, I repeat this again, these are guidelines. Yeah, there might be exceptions, there might be reasons for further translating a foundation app into an app, and maybe a set of libraries. So but again, a happy path scenario, yeah, those foundational apps usually become libraries. So, and here in this case, it makes sense as well, because my application was already part of a horizontal domain, right? And now that is, so usually horizontal domains are business agnostic. um, and in even in case if, let's say, they are not, but they are further being supported by certain other applications, so there is a very highly likelihood that those foundation apps now which are supporting these horizontal domain applications are going to be business agnostic. So in that way, mostly the mapping is going to be to an library in ODC, not to an app. Yeah. So so there are situations, and we need to handle them accordingly. But then there has to be some guidelines, which is what we are discussing here. So we covered all those domains, and this is what I wanted to uh, kind of do a recap, because we did not have enough time in the last session for discussing the domains so much into detail. Now we come to migration patterns, and this is what I was talking about. So this is, I mean, we are at a point that, okay, we know, in the last session we discussed about, like, how the design process should work in a ODC. There has to be a disclose, organize and assemble phases, and then we like as part of every phase we do certain activities, and then finally we arrive at a blueprint of our final architecture. Yeah. So now I already have a blueprint of how things are going to look like when I migrate my applications from O11 to ODC. How the services are going to look, the microservice architecture going to look like. So it is going to have these many apps, that many libraries, and then how they are going to connect with each other. So all that would be ready with me. So once that is there, there is still some work left, and that but that require further very much detailed analysis. So it's not only the architects who can do this. They need assistance from developers and it from the tech leads, because they are the ones who know best about the composition of their applications. Yeah. So they know what elements are there, and it's actually also kind of a part of preparation of migrating now those elements to ODC. And we have to do certain activities, because not everything from O11 is mapped one to one to things in ODC, right? So we know that. So now we are going to look at different migration patterns. So the most popular one, when an asset is consuming server action. Yeah. So we know that server actions, they are heavily used in our OutSystems 11 applications, right? Um, and then it was possible to have server actions belonging to one application or another module, and then another. So let's say I have two applications, application A and application B, and both of them contain one module each. So if there is a server action in another application, I can application A can consume the server action from application B. So that was a possibility. It was not it was not prohibited in O11. So, but then further, to ensure that there is proper usage of server actions between applications or even between modules, there are certain guidelines which we call as architecture canvas, right? So we had to follow those, and then we had to ensure that there is proper loose coupling between applications and so on. So um, server actions, we had the liberty to use server actions the way we want, but then there were certain guidelines on even how to use them to make sure that there is enough independence in the way of working between any two teams. Yeah. So, but in our ODC, server actions are not allowed between any two applications. We know that, right? So, because they create a strong dependency, and applications can only have the weak dependencies in ODC framework. So, before, so if let's say I have two applications now, and they are communicating with each other through server action in O11 framework, and in ODC as well, I have decided to keep them as two separate applications. I cannot let them communicate through server actions. I mean, I cannot do that at all. It's not allowed. Yeah. So now I have to do something to fix this communication between those two applications. So I have to review some way of communication, or I might even have to change the architecture a bit. Yeah. So let's see how do we solve this one. So there can be two scenarios, right? One is that the server action includes business logic. So that's, and this is how the picture looks like. So I have an O11 app. So they have also in these diagrams you can see there are dotted lines which represent like how I, as per my new blueprint, how do I envision my O11 apps being mapped to the ODC apps. So the bold line inside shows the O11 application and module, and then the dotted line outside shows the ODC app. Yeah. So that's how so that it's easy for us to relate between, okay, how we are migrating, how we plan to migrate our O11 application and modules to ODC applications. So here we can clearly see that O11 module 2 has a dependency on O11 module 1, and it's through a server action, and it's a strong dependency. So when I migrate from O11 to ODC, this cannot happen. Yeah, it's not allowed. So what and the scenario we are talking about is where server action includes some business logic. Yeah, so again, there is emphasis on business logic, and this actually is going to decide the future course of action. So let's see now. When I say that my server action has some business logic, then our system suggests that we convert that server action into a service action, and then we have to ensure that we have to take care of the distributed transactions. So second point, I will touch upon that later. So first point, we know, all right. So there are server actions and service actions. So now service actions are allowed in ODC framework as well. Service actions allow us to make communication in a loosely coupled manner between any two components. So and service actions are, and that's why service actions are allowed between ODC apps as well. So the now our systems is suggesting us in that scenario where we have a business logic in our server action to convert our server action into a service action. The second point where they are suggesting that we have to ensure that we take care of the distributed transactions. So we are going to cover this hopefully in upcoming session where we talk about various integration patterns. But in short,
Uh,
we all
Sorry to
know.
interrupt you, Matt. Can you, in the below, there is one thing, right? User group dot outsystem dot com is sharing your screen. Can you please click hide in that? In the below of the screen,
Uh,
you can see.
okay, okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Mary. So, yeah, shall I go ahead? I hope it's hidden for
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
now.
please. Yeah,
Okay,
July.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So, I think we can now clearly see that after this refactoring, that I mean, converting a server action into a service action, the dependency between module ODC app 2 and ODC app 1 becomes a weak dependency because service actions enable the weak dependencies between the producer and the consumer. So distributed transactions. So as we know, service actions. So before, yeah, a while back, I was discussing about distributed transactions. We are going to cover that in detail in upcoming session. But in short, service actions, as we all know, they don't retain the session. Yeah. So if I'm having a session, let's say I'm logged in and I'm doing a transaction, a database transaction in a server action, and then I have to do more transactions, but then I call a service action for that, and now a database transaction is happening into that service action. So in that case, the transactionality is not maintained between a server action and a service action. Yeah. So what happens then? We have to ensure that. Uh, Usually in server action, so let's say I make three database transactions, and if something wrong in the third one, an exception happens, and then the server action and the platform rolls back everything, so it will roll back all three database transactions. Yeah. But if that happens between a server action and a service action, so let's say two transactions already, database transactions already happened in server action, third one is going to happen in a service action. So if anything goes wrong in the service action transaction, it's not going to roll back the transactions which are already performed in the service action. And that's why our systems is suggesting to ensure that distributed transaction thing is taken care very well when we are converting a server action into a service action. Yeah. Now let's come to scenario 2. In scenario 2, we are talking about a server action which includes agnostic logic, so it doesn't contain business logic in that scenario. And then again, this server action, let's say, is being used by one or more live applications. In that case, our systems is suggesting that we convert that application into a library. Yeah, because I think I mentioned earlier, yeah, libraries are usually supposed to contain business agnostic logic, but again there could be exceptions, but this is the guideline. Yeah. So here, when the server action is not containing the business logic, so our system is suggesting that we uh, so whichever application is containing this server action can be now mapped to a library. In library, and then the applications can directly consume server actions from library. Yeah, that is allowed in ODC. So applications can consume server actions from libraries, which is perfectly allowed. So this is what is suggested here in so that also means that now the blueprint that I had prepared earlier, it's changing now, right? So earlier I thought that O11 app would be an ODC app, but now it is getting converted into an ODC library, right? So my blueprint is changing, my architecture is changing, and that's why I said I wanted to cover this topic more into this session, because I want to I wanted to bring it across to you guys that, okay, I mean, yeah, once the blueprint is ready, it does not mean it's not going to change. There might be situations where we have to do those changes, and migration patterns is a perfect example. So when we actually transform things at a ground level, there are changes required in architecture as well to support that. Yeah. Now we are talking about a situation where there is an asset consuming in client action, yeah, from another application. Now again, here as well, client action is creates a strong dependency between producer and consumer. So if it's happening between any two applications, it allowed in ODC. Yeah. So we have to do something in this scenario as well. Yeah. So let's see what we do here. So again, we have multiple scenarios. So in scenario one, if there is only one ODC app or library that is in the client action, then what we do? Yeah. So it creates a strong dependency which is not allowed. So I have to change something. So it's telling me to club the two O11 applications into one ODC application. Yeah. So earlier I had one ODC application for O11 app 1, another ODC application for O11 app 2. But now, to make sure that the client action strong dependency is taken care of, I have our systems suggesting, and it is the scenario when only one application is consuming that client action. Yeah, so it is telling me to club those two O11 applications into one ODC application. Yeah. Um, so, and before I go there, actually, it's fine to uh, club the two applications, but it's also going to make my ODC application bigger, right? So this is again, that's what our system is suggesting us to do, but try to uh, stick to the architecture that was initially defined, and if possible, try to manage it in a different way, because um, clubbing the things is like, yeah, because I'm going to get into so many such situations where there would be server actions and client actions. I cannot club all the applications into one. Yeah. So try to see if that dependency can be taken care in some other ways as well. Yeah. So maybe I don't know, I mean, it could be taken care through an entity which becomes a weak dependency, it could be a service. So somehow we need to see like if we can avoid that clubbing part, yeah, because otherwise, I mean, in certain cases we might end up clubbing everything. So that's not a good idea. Then it's no longer microservice architecture, right? Now scenario two, where several ODC apps or libraries consume the client action. Yeah. So this one again is a situation, right? So let's see how do we handle this. So in this case, because there are multiple dependencies, it is telling us, okay, um, move that map that application, which is the producer, into a library rather than in application. But so again, it's all a high level thing, right? Practically, when we try to do this, it's not just one client action contained in an application, right? It's lot of screens there. So it won't be as simple as just making that a library. So because we need to think about other elements as well, right? There are so many screens, and then that application might contain entities, business logic, right? And that's why we decided to make it an application. Now, just because of one client action, I may not be in a situation to simply translate it into a library, because if that application had entities, what am I going to do? So back to my statement, which I'm repeating all the time. These are guidelines, yeah, but practically you might come across so many situations and which you have to handle differently. So might decide to, and then in another here, so client actions usually belong to what, screens, and screens are not allowed in libraries, right? So that's another catch. So what am I going to do here? Libraries can contain only blocks. So I will have to, it's not simply just mapping an app to an ODC library. Will have to even think about breaking my screen down into web blocks, which then I can accommodate into a library. So yeah, these are very high level guidelines. There might be so many such situations where we actually do this and it won't be that straightforward. And you know what, I'm sure OutSystems is going to come up with more detailed guidelines. It's a very initial stage actually. There are certain documentation which are changing quite often. So for instance, in case of rules were not something which can be shared between applications, but now we can do that. So the framework is also changing, and at the same time the documentation which is available on OutSystems website is also changing, and it's getting more and more refined and detailed. So watch out for those changes. They know there are these challenges, and they need to be tackled. So initially they are coming up with high level things, guidelines, and so on. But I think it's going to get evolve more and be more mature in the near future. So that was about client actions. Then we come to blocks. Yeah, we already briefly talked about blocks. So I can have a block. Yeah, block again is a strong dependency. I cannot afford to have blocks between my applications. I cannot share them, right? They can be part of a library. Yeah. So let's see how do we tackle that. So now again we have two scenarios. Only one ODC application consumes the
Uh, Junaid, your voice is little bit breaking. Anybody else facing? Hello.
is it better now?
Ha, yes, yes. Yeah, it's
Okay,
better.
okay, so that's my
Please
microphone was.
repeat the yeah last sentence, Junaid.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Mary. So what I was saying that Now we are talking about blocks when there is an ODC asset which is consuming a block, so from another application. So two applications cannot share block, because blocks again create strong dependencies. And So the options, so we were looking at different scenarios. So first scenario was that a block is being used by only one app. So in that case, they are suggest our system is suggesting us to club the two applications. Yeah, if we club the two applications, are contained in just one ODC application, and then they can share anything between them, right? So they are no longer separate applications. They become just one ODC app, and anything can be shared within an app. So that's what our system is suggesting here. So I was saying this is the clubbing the applications and translating something into a library. Whatever resolutions we are seeing, they are the simplest in a very high level approaches to handle the situations. But we might have to deal with a lot more when we actually do that. So the second scenario, again, where multiple applications or libraries are consuming it, then obviously I think you guys have figured it out. We make it a library. Yeah. So in that case, we simply make it a library, and then applications can easily consume that block from that library. Um, the next thing, where we are talking about a read only entity. Yeah. So um, but so there are situations in our OutSystems 11 applications where non I can expose an entity which is a non read only. Yeah, which means that the consumer can make changes in my entity. They can insert, update, delete, so they can make those kind of changes in my entity. Yeah. Which is, again, even our system 11 does not suggest to do that, but at times we have to do it. So uh, for those kind of situations, again, we have to do some refactoring. So um, here, as we know that applications in ODC, so in O11 I could expose my entity as a non-read only, right? But in sorry, in O11 I could expose it as a non-read only, but in ODC I cannot do that. Yeah. Apps only support weak dependencies, so they are these are the restrictions which exist in ODC framework, which I think are good as well, because at times people misuse the liberty that OutSystem or any framework provides. So those might be needed in case of exceptions, but though that should not be the habit of developing things. So yeah, so I cannot expose that kind of entities between applications. So let's see how OutSystems suggests to do this. So this is the diagram of how the thing would look like before we do the refactoring, and after we do the refactoring. So how do we refactor? So it depends on different scenarios. So one is the change the entity to read only. Yeah. So we simply make it read only. Any consumers cannot make any changes now after they take the dependency, but we still want to keep the business going as it was before. So in that case, it is suggesting us to create service actions, because service actions can be shared between applications, right? So we make service actions to allow consumers to make necessary changes on the entity. So service actions are going to contain the logic to perform the CRUD operations. So that is one way to handle it. And if only one ODC app consumes the entity in a non-read only way, then they are suggesting to move the O11 module with the entity to a new O11 app. So they are again kind of telling us to bring the two together. Yeah. So let's see how it looks. Yeah, this is what. So clubbing the two applications, bringing them both together. Now it's no longer the problem, because they can easily the it's one ODC app, and anything can be consumed within an app between the any logic. Yeah. Next thing, so consuming, so there is an ODC asset which is consuming an image from an application. Yeah. So image again is a strong dependency, which is not allowed between applications. So now we have to do something. We have to do some refactoring to make sure that we follow the ODC guidelines. So let's see how we do it. So again, there are two scenarios. If the image is being used by only one app or library, then um, I think you guys would have guessed it already. We club them. Yeah, so we club the two applications which are sharing the image, and now they become one ODC application, and um, they can easily do whatever they want on that image. Next scenario is when several ODC apps or libraries are consuming the image, then OutSystems is suggesting that obviously move it to a library. Yeah, so we are moving it to a library. I think you guys must be quite familiar with the refactoring pattern now, how to refactor things, because it's almost two or three approaches that we are following in every scenario. Yeah. Then we have the local storage entities, which are again not allowed between any two applications. Um, and I think it's very straightforward as well. Again, you have to um, take off. So I mean, if two are consuming, if sorry, if two ODC applications are consuming local storage entity, then it's a strong dependency. And how do we solve this? So it's simple. The clubbing thing again, yeah. So we club the two applications which are sharing the local storage entity, and then we map the two applications to one ODC app. The same pattern that we have been discussing for other refactorings. Now a process, yeah, consuming a process is usually we all know, right? BPT. So BPT's BPT concept heavily relies on processes, and if there are processes involved in our O11 applications, then here, as we all know, and in case some of you don't know, BPT is not allowed in ODC framework, but OutSystem has introduced workflows there, and they are also working on certain things to make this migration from BPTs to ODC workflows to happen automatically through the migration kit, which is not publicly available yet. They are suggesting to keep it as is, not make any changes till that thing becomes public, the migration kit, and it would be a lot easier then. Yeah, so we can hold our transition until then. Yeah, but in case if yeah, so like they said, yeah, so if you have access to migration kit, then you can simply uh, take care of that, I mean leverage that migration kit and do the migration from BPTs to ODC workflows. But in case we want to do it ourselves, then for now they are suggesting that in that case simply use the REST APIs to expose and wrap the processes. And Yeah, so I mean we have to take care of the REST APIs to translate the BPT, the process thing, in ODC framework. For BPTs, yeah, I mean, actually, I am already working on certain projects which are being migrated from O11 to ODC, and we do come across these scenarios, like I have been telling you so far, right? That it's not as straightforward as we are talking here. Things get very complicated at times, and we have to find workarounds. We cannot simply club the applications and so on. But this is what our system is suggesting as of now. So we are waiting for more details from them. So we have to handle situations differently, and maybe in some future session I will talk about my experiences on those migration journeys, how we handled it. So it might apply in your case as well. So for now, yeah, our system is suggesting us to wait for the migration kit to do the process migration, and otherwise, if you want to do it manually, then we handle it through the REST APIs. Yeah. So then the next use case is when we have resource being consumed between any two applications. So this is more or less same as the patterns we have discussed before. So if it is just happening between um, single two applications, like if several ODC assets are consuming the resource, then the one possible way to handle it to replicate the resource in each ODC application. And then if only one ODC asset consume the resource, then review the O11 architecture and clubbing the thing. So if somebody asks me, then I would go for the first approach rather, to replicate it into different ODC assets instead of clubbing the two O11 applications or two ODC applications into one. Yeah. So, but these are the two possible ways to do it. Yeah. So the same diagram that we have been. Now, asset consuming a screen in mobile app. So, a screen again is a strong dependency, and uh, we can only afford weak dependencies. So, let's see how do we handle this one, where we have a screen being shared between applications. So, this is the same diagram, and I so now here, if there are three situations. If only one ODC app consumes the screen, move the O11 module to a new O11 app. So it's this is about the same thing, clubbing the two applications. If several of them are using it, then ensure all consumers of O11 apps are module mapped to the same consumer ODC app, and that screen is part of an O11 module, belongs to an O11 app. But this is the same thing I was telling, that they are telling us to club all the applications who are the consumers into one. So I mean that could be a problem, right? Then we might end up clubbing everything. And if there are one or more libraries consuming the screen, ensure that the consumption of the screen is moved to an OL. Now this one is a bit confusing. I mean, yeah, I mean, you guys are not supposed to talk here, but so if libraries cannot consume a screen, yeah, they they cannot have a screen. So I think this needs to be corrected in our system's documentation. So I captured it here just to bring to your notice as well that yeah, this is not looking like a valid scenario. Maybe I might be interpreting it wrongly, but yeah, that's how I understand it. So I think libraries cannot consume screens, so they are not allowed to have screens. So third one is not a possible scenario. So yeah, once we do that clubbing, this is how it's going to look like. So all the O11 applications clubbed into one or mapped into one ODC application. Asset consuming a script, so it could be a JavaScript or something, yeah, that we usually do. So in this case, it is simply telling us to again do the same thing. So I think this is you guys would have figured out already. So if several apps are doing consuming, then we replicate the script. So it's more like the resource thing. So we replicate the script across C applications or libraries, which I feel if there is no other option, this is the best way to do it compared to the clubbing. So and the next one, of course, you would, if only one ODC asset consumes the script, then club the two. So yeah, the usual approach that we have been seeing for almost all the patterns. Now private structure. So structure usually, yeah, again, structures are not allowed to be shared between ODC assets, not even between libraries and applications. But then and there are possibilities. So uh, I mean, one is that if then we can simply define similar structure in each one of them, and that's how they can proceed. Possibility where the structure reuse might happen is the service action. So between any two applications, we can have only service actions, right? If those service actions are having parameters which is the data type is a structure, then it automatically gets shared between the applications. So that is another way of sharing the private structures. Yeah, the next pattern now is consuming an application theme. So this one is quite popular, I would say. Themes are usually supposed to be into business agnostic applications. um, so yeah, try not to have them mapped to applications in ODC, because applications are supposed to be more um non-business agnostic. So the best case to have the themes into an application, into a library, is, I think, the right way to do it. Here as well, it's suggesting that if there is an application which is containing theme, and then there are two or more ODC applications which are dependent on the theme, then we simply translate it into my library. Yeah, which is more common. And I think when we discuss different patterns, architecture patterns in ODC, we are going to come across this one as well, where OutSystems itself is suggesting to have themes and those kind of things in libraries rather. Yeah. Now, asset consuming a reference that is not defined in any mapped ODC asset. So let's say during the uh, design process, we forgot to have some application or some library, some application, some O11 application, we forgot to map it to any application or library in ODC. Then in that case, when we migrate the things over to ODC, we are going to have missing this, yeah, and then that is going to cause some broken dependencies. So then we have to, obviously, in that case, we have to review our architecture if the mappings were missed properly for those kind of elements. And then we have the extensions. So extensions, as we all know, the actions, structures, entities, and we usually build them in C sharp language, right? So again, for this one, our systems suggest that if you are preparing your code for mine, there is an automated way of handling these extensions. So I think migration.
Hello, Junaid. I think
Yeah,
again it's
yeah. So
breaking.
uh, they are
Uh,
suggesting us to do it in such a way that,
Sorry. Yeah, can you repeat that last two sentence again, Junaid? I think we missed it.
yeah, yeah. So for extensions, our system suggests that if we are only preparing for migration, then it's recommended to have the proper changes done in such a way that we take care of the data fabric feature of ODC. Yeah, especially when extensions are communicating with the external database. And the C sharp code as well, I think the way we write it for 11 extensions is different in ODC. So maybe in future sessions, we will cover how to develop these extensions, what framework they support, and how do we upload them, publish them, and so on in ODC. So yeah, I mean, there is a different way of handling extensions. It's We cannot simply consume an extension from O11 into ODC. So obviously the extensions need some refactoring to make take full advantage of ODC framework. Yeah, it's the same thing. So the manual conversion thing, so it is suggesting whatever I just explained, that if your extension connects to an external data source, then we make sure that we set external connectivity to the database in ODC to take advantage of data fabric thing in ODC. And there is for even for the C sharp custom code, there is a different way of writing extensions. So we have to refactor our extension to build them in ODC compatible way. So yeah, those that refactoring is near our extensions so that we can use them in ODC. Uh, and then assets consuming O11 system elements. So system libraries, system elements, we have lot of those, right? So we have entities in system module, and then we have a lot of actions and things. So actually there is a huge list of things which don't exist now in system libraries on ODC, and then things which have changed, and things which need some changes in the way we consume them. So there is a long list of that. I could not I mean, I thought it's not a good idea to cover all of them. So if really needed, then you can go through that documentation. There is a huge list of those there. And yeah, so that would help you. But yeah, I mean, a lot of system elements are not available as they were in O11. So we have to make sure that we do necessary refactoring and to take advantage of the ones which are provided by the system library in ODC, and then the ones which are missing, we do something about that. Yeah. um, Asset cannot contain BPT. So this is same related to the process pattern which we discussed already a while ago. Uh, so BPT is not supported, but if you want to get to be there, so that BPT automatically be translated into ODC workflows. But if you want to do something, then the rest or some workarounds we have to use. Yeah. Assets cannot contain soap. So in O11 we have the option for when we go to logic tab, and so there is a rest and then there is soap option for integrating with other systems. Soap is not an option in ODC. Yeah. So we can only integrate using REST APIs. So for but still, if any of the O11 applications that you want to migrate, if they are using this feature, then the expose part can simply be taken care, because expose is totally in our control. So it can be converted into REST expose, and we can convert it into a REST API. For the consume part, so if there is any third party sitting in between the target component and our ODC framework, then on our side we do it through API. And so yeah, we change the way we communicate with the intermediate component. And the other thing is that they are suggesting also to wait for the migration kit, so that they can the migration kit then properly can translate our SOAP to ODC compatible implementation of it. So yeah, that is another suggestion from our systems for SOAP thing. Anonymous and registered roles. Like we know that in um, and one important thing here, so like I mentioned earlier as well, roles earlier were there was a documentation, and I think it is still there, which says that roles cannot be shared. Yeah. But later we realized that they can be shared actually. So like I have already mentioned that. So our systems is proactively changing thing, evolving the framework to fit it to our needs, and also to the application needs, and to allow us to build proper applications. So and trying to keep it as close as possible to O11. Yeah, so it's evolving, it's changing. So but for sure, and ODC or anonymous and registered roles are not allowed. You don't see them as checkboxes on the UI elements. Now actually they are being taken care through a property which is called authorize. Yeah, so you can select everyone and only registered there. Everyone translates to anonymous, and only registered is obviously registered. Yeah, so that's how ODC takes care of the anonymous and registered roles. So if we have any screens, obviously we would have screens in O11 which have anonymous access. So that's how we can um, translate them into ODC screens by refactoring the roles part. The site properties. So yeah, site properties, they are very useful. We needed them for various reasons, to store confidential information, to store information which could be feature toggles. Yeah, so they are needed for various reasons. So for them, we don't have site properties as such, but we do have option called settings, where we can configure values like we used to do in configure values which we were configuring in site properties. Now those could be configured under settings in the framework. So yeah, so site properties don't exist, but we can have them configured in under the settings in ODC framework. um Assets consuming reference to traditional web applications. So yeah, even today I think most of our customers, they are using traditional web applications. So there might be situations, I know for sure, for one of my clients, they have both reactive as well as traditional, and they communicate with each other. So in those cases, when we have to take care of that as well, because traditional web applications are not supported in ODC. So in that case, two things that can happen. One is the where application is being is just providing the services. Yeah, so we can simply translate that into a library. That kind of an application, we can simply go to our services studio and convert a normal module to a service, right? Convert to a service module. So that service module then can be translated into a library on ODC side. And then the second situation is where we have the UI elements in our traditional web application. So in that case, we have to transform the entire web application into a reactive web application. So yeah, that's not something very pleasant, but yeah, we have to do it because our systems, I believe, they informed years back that traditional is no more going to be supported, or or so common in use, but in reactive is the future. So yeah, I think customers or whoever is using the traditional web apps should have already gotten away from them to switch to the new reactive web apps. Yeah, so I think that's all. Yeah, I think we covered almost all the patterns. um, there are still things which are not so clearly documented, but we might come across them in while we actually perform this migration. But yeah, in terms of guidance, I think our systems is doing their best to provide whatever they can. So yeah, I think that's all I had for today's session. So thank you all for participating and listening so patiently. I hope it was a productive session for you all, and we have something to take back to our um, developer life, developer day-to-day activities from this session. Thank you. Mary, over to you. Hello, Mary, can you hear me? Hello, Mary, can you hear me? If you're talking, you're on mute. Hello, Mary. Uh,
Actually, Mary have some problem in her laptop, so she will be joining into a few minutes. And if you guys have any questions to ask to Junaid, you can ask now in comment section. I just read it to Junaid.
okay. Thank you, Shreyamani.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, you can post in the comment section. Junaid will answer for that. And thank you so much for
So,
the wonderful session, Junaid. It was really insightful for us about the migration about O11 to ODC.
yeah, I was also excited about this one because this is more related to the actual work that we do in our
Yeah,
systems.
yes.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, Deepak, I have one question. What strategies or any recommendations for data model migration?
So in data model migration, again, I heard that they are preparing automated migration of the database through migration kit. I'm not 100% sure though, if there would be some guidelines for that as well. But if today somebody tells us to perform the migration, then I would say the best way to do is just like, I mean, the way we would do in any other framework. So like, I mean, take a dump, upload it, run some timers, batch jobs, whatever. But the most important thing to consider for the database migration is the transactionality, because we have discussed that a lot, right? That there are service actions now, server actions are not allowed between applications, especially. So in that case, transactionality is very important. So we have to ensure that if there are transactions happening, if there are transactions distributed between two applications, then the failure scenarios are handled very well there. I so Mukesh, I will check with Mary how to best share the slides. Yeah, so maybe she can help me with that. Uh,
Yeah, and Mukesh, I have one more question. Can you tell me about how the events are working in ODC? Is like SSE or pub
pub,
slash sub?
pub and sub, yeah, pub sub model is used in events. So Deepak,
What specific security measures should be better to implement to protect ODC apps? Deepak Mani has asked this question.
so in terms of coding practices, so I think still the same applies. Whatever we do in O11, and on top of that, in terms of platform security, so cloud is much better. So it's more strict on cloud compared to O11. So and yeah, so but in terms of coding practices, it is still the same. So we have to ensure that we do whatever we were doing before, like SQL injections, no anonymous access, so on. So yeah, platform does not stop us from making those mistakes. So we have to make sure that we continue following the best practices. I think Mary is here now.
Yeah, she's there. She will.
Mary, you are still on
Yes.
mute. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I faced some technical issues, so sorry for that.
no worries.
Okay,
Yeah, over to
I
you,
think
Mary. So session is over. I think most of the questions have also been asked. So you
yes.
can go to your thing now. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Junaid. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really a great session. And yes, we learned a lot. And yeah, coming to the recording, yes, the video will be uploaded in 1 week. In YouTube, we will upload it and we will add the link in the event page. You can go and check that. And yes, now the time is for a quiz. I will share my screen. Junaid, can you stop screen sharing so that I can start screen sharing?
Okay, is it still on? Yeah.
Right, just a minute. I will share my screen. Okay. Hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Now it's the time for the quiz. So we are having some questions. So if you answer, there is a chance to get wonderful gifts from our system. So here the time is also very important. Not only the color. So I will start the thing. Just a minute. It says 10 players. Okay, so this is pin. So you can go to this URL and, you can join the quiz game. The pin is 7814925. Waiting for others. Okay, 2 more minutes. Team, H was joined. You can try with the app as well, or you can just go to this URL and enter the pin. If you face any issues, please let me know. Okay, let's start the game. Okay. Yes, this is our first question. Which of the concepts is not supported in ODC? Timers, please, local storage, and answer B is none. Right, guys. Actually, here the time is also important, right? So not only the correct answer. So do it very fast so that you can grab some amazing gifts. Yeah, 8 people answered it correctly. Yes, the answer is PPT, and really great job, team. I will go to the next question. Okay, so before that, who is leading? Okay, Vinod Kumar is leading, and Bhavani, then Deepak. Thanks. Sorry. Congratulations. Yeah, so it can, anytime it can change. So the upcoming questions are also very important. So anytime, anything can happen. So please answer it fast. The next question is, which of the loose coupling mechanism we cannot use in ODC? Answer A, service option A, service action, option B, REST API, option C, SOAP API, option D, external URLs. Okay, almost everybody answered. And the right answer is right, SOAP API, and 7 people answered correctly. Yes, I will. Let's go to the leaderboard. Yes, as I said, now everything is changed. Mugais is leading and followed by Suna and Manthan. Okay, let's go to the next question. Application type not available in ODC. Which application type? Reactive, phone, tablet, or traditional? Okay, it's an easy question. Oh. Yes, all the people and most of the people answered correctly. Yes, the answer is traditional. And again, Mukesh is leading. Next, Sona and Manthan. I will move to the next question. Roles type not available in ODC. Which roles type? Anonymous, register, normal roles, or both A and B means anonymous and register. Okay, almost everybody answered. Let's see the result. Yes, A and B, anonymous and register are not available in ODC. And great work. Let's see. Again, it changed. So Mani is leading now, followed by Kirti. After that, Christina and okay. Let's move to the next question. Total 6 questions. The fifth question is, what is the replacement of site properties in ODC? Session variable, client variable, or settings? Okay. So all the people answered already. Okay, let's wait for the result. Yes, setting is the replacement of site properties in ODC. And now let's see who is leading the scoreboard. Again, it's Mani and then Mukesh and Deepak. So we are going to the last question. Last question also, anything can change. So please focus, guys. Okay, the last and final question. How can I share the structure in ODC? Make it public, create a copy in consumer, expose via submission and consume. Or both B and C. That means create a copy in consumer or expose via service section and consume. Both option is correct. Okay, already everyone answered. Let's see. Yes. You can create a copy in consumer or you can expose via service section and consume. Okay, so now we are going to see the result. Who is going to get the amazing gift from OutSystem away from Portugal. Okay. Third question is Sona. Great. Congratulations, Sona. Second B. Okay, let's. Mukesh. Great. Mukesh, Bhavani, and Sona. And yes, fourth is Mani and Vinod Kumar. You also, almost near to the winners. But yeah, this time you have, you know, not cap, you're not crapping the gift. But anyway, so next user group, you will definitely grab more gift. And great work, Mukesh, Bhavani, and Sona. And congratulations. So please share your details in the chat. I want your name, email ID, phone number, and the swag size and the address, clear address with the pin code and state and everything, and your PAN information as well because it is coming from Portugal. So for custom clearance, we need the PAN card number as well. So please share the information to me. I hope everybody here knows my LinkedIn URL. I will share it here. You can share the information to me or Krishna Mala Shriyamini. So we will pass on the information to the OutSystem team and you will get rewards. So we'll take the screenshot and all are really winners, not only these three people. So you learn something new today and you spend some time on weekend. That is really great and you learn so many things today. And thanks to Junait as well. It's a really a great session. We learned so many things and what are the challenges you faced while migrating, and it's really helpful to us. And we are expecting for for your next section as well, Junaid. And thanks for your time once again.
My pleasure, Mary. Thank you all for joining and being there so patiently.
Yeah, it's a really great session. And as I said before, we will share the recording very soon in the YouTube, and we will add the link in the our event page, same event page where you have registered. I will share my LinkedIn URL here. So who are the winners? Please share your information. Um, to me so that you can get the gifts from OutSystem. Just a minute, I will share the URL.
And one last thing, Mary. So I am there on ADP list as well. So if any of you is interested in connecting with me directly for anything on OutSystems, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, that's great, Junaid. Yes, we will definitely use that opportunity. So, ADP list, you can, if you have more question on ODC migration or something else, as Junaid said, right, in our system, you can reach out to Junaid. And thanks for your contribution to the community, Junaid. It's really a great, so spending the time and teaching others, not a easy thing. You are doing it and you are helping the team, well, helping the community in more ways. So looking forward to your other sessions as well. And
Mhm.
yes, as you said, if you conduct a session, what are the challenges you faced in ODC and how you found the resolution? That will really help me. I really learned a lot of things from today's session. And yeah, thanks for everything, Janai.
Thank you all.
Okay, so this is my LinkedIn URL. 1 minute. For some reason, I am not able to paste in the chat. Shriyamini, can you share your LinkedIn URL or my URL in the chat, please? Hello, Shriyamini. Yes, I can see now. 1 minute. Okay, so this is my URL. So please
Yes,
share
hi,
your
Kumari.
link. Yeah, yeah. Please share your LinkedIn URL as well in the chat so that the winners can share their information.
Yeah,
And
sure.
right after this, yeah, thanks, Riyamini. And right after this event, you will get a feedback form from our system. Please provide your feedback. We are waiting for your feedback and suggestions. And whoever wants to participate as a speaker or host in the upcoming sessions, please let us know. It is you can whatever you maybe you have faced some challenges and found the solutions. Anything you can share, please reach out to me, or Krishna Bell or Shriyamini Jerome or Kirtana. So we will facilitate the things. And thanks for your time once again. And soon, whoever got the rewards, like quiz, whoever won the quiz, you will get the rewards. Thanks for your time once again. Thanks everyone.
Happy weekend, guys. Bye bye.
And Junaid, thanks for your time once again. Thank you.